And welcome back this morning. We have Shawnna Rhine here with us from the Southern 7 Health Department. Not talking about shots this morning, even though it's still important, but we have something else important that we want to talk about. You guys have started some genetic testing, and I know that this has become more and more popular. I know at a lot of doctors' visits, and we have a lot of physicians that are recommending that. And it could be scary for people to think about, because once you go down that road, you're there. So talk about why you guys started doing this and what those results have provided.
Sure. Well, we started doing genetic cancer testing back in May. And the reason we brought it to our region is we have such a high incident rate of cancer-related cases and deaths, not just in Southern Illinois, but throughout our whole region. And over the last few months, in looking at these numbers, we found something rather interesting. And we've only tested so far about 100 people.
Okay.
And of those people that have tested, 57 of them have completed that test, because it takes about 3 weeks for that test to finish.
Okay.
9% of the people that completed their test came back positive for some form of genetic mutation.
Wow.
And that's kind of staggering, considering that the national average is 10%.
Oh, goodness.
So for us, we're looking at that and going, okay, is this just an anomaly, just kind of an odd thing we're seeing, or is this indicative of a bigger problem that we have in our region? Because when we're doing these tests, we're looking for mutation, actually it's genetic mutations in your DNA, that for 8 specific cancers, and that includes breast, ovarian, colorectal, melanoma, and others. So for somebody that tests positive for that, it's a game changer when it comes to their cancer treatment, and for their family members as well.
Right, to have that knowledge is definitely power. And is this a blood test that people come in? Explain the process, because again, it can be daunting, because once you find this information out, you're like, okay, now what?
Right.
But talk about the process of people who might be interested in doing something like this, what that looks like.
Exactly. Well, first off, this test is open to anyone. It's not just those who live in Southern Illinois.
Okay.
If you're over 18, you can qualify for the test. But what it is, it involves either a simple blood draw or saliva sample. And once they've completed that draw, they send it to the company that we work with. Like I say, it takes about 3 weeks to get your results back. Now, it is daunting to go, okay, I've tested positive for the BRCA gene, which is
terrifying to think about.
Or for any of the others. But it's also kind of consoling as well. And I say that from my standpoint because I had stage 0 breast cancer in my early 40s, which is, if you want to have a stage, that's the one you want.
That's the one to have.
But it frightened me to think that my daughter might be a carrier, or my son. So I was tested for them. And it turns out I tested negative.
Good.
But if I had tested positive, then for my daughter, she could start screening earlier. Before 40. For my son, he could say, okay, well, maybe I have this genetic mutation to carry it on to my kids. So, when you're looking at healthcare, typically when you get a health diagnosis, it affects just you. With this, it affects your family going forward.
Right, because then because a lot of times if it's just us, we don't want to do things because, we're like, but if we start involving, like, this could impact my children, that's when it hits home. So it becomes empowering.
Very much so. Yeah, this changes it all across the board. And I mean, we want patients to realize this is not new. This is something that's been around for a number of years, but it's just become a little more affordable for the folks in our region through this process. But you're going to see that your doctors, your hospitals, they're going to start encouraging you to do this screening. I know when I went for my last gynecological exam, that was one of the things that they did, one of the intake forms was, are you wanting to do this? So we're seeing it more and more, and when I gave my results to my doctor, she was excited. She said, this is great. Now we know exactly going forward what to deal with. And that's comforting to know that your diagnosis is going to make a difference to you as well as to your family members along the way.
Absolutely, and of course cost does matter. Does that vary depending on individuals and insurance and all of that?
Right, yeah. Yeah, it is. It's determined on a case-by-case basis. But I can tell you the most you're going to pay out of pocket is $250.
Okay.
That is the most. What they do is the company, as well as your insurance, looks at your cancer history. It looks at your family's cancer history. It looks at a lot of different things to determine how much of that $250 they're still going to pay. So we always tell people expect $250, but what will happen is once you've completed your test and they send it on, you will get a call from the company that we do the test with, and we'll ask you, okay, do you want us to continue? Your insurance has said they will pay X amount. You can decline going forward with the test. But if you say, no, I want to continue, there are ways to help pay for that. The company we work with actually helps support you. They don't want anybody to not do it because of cost.
Right, so you could be paying for peace of mind or for your game plan, whatever that may be for the future.
Right.
And I guess just to kind of wrap this all up, because I feel like we could talk about this forever, but talking about specifically with your area, now that you've started this testing and you have some results, you're probably going to be doing a little bit more research. You know, is there something environmental? I mean, you're probably thinking about a lot of different factors. Okay, why is this number so high? So probably a lot more research that you guys will be doing.
And it's going to take a number of years to determine that, because that's something that they've been looking at for a long period of time. You know, we live in a region where you know, you see a high incident rate of obesity, people smoke, or alcoholism, or whatever the case may be, and not for everybody. But some of it is genetic, whereas this can play a part into that. So it is going to take a while. But what we are starting to see is, because we're doing this testing, we are seeing hospitals and doctors outside of the Southern 7 region also looking at this and making it part of their care plans. So for patients traveling outside of our region that have to go into more advanced care, again, they got that leg up. They already have an idea of what they're looking at.
Yeah, so again, trying to take the scariness out of it, because again, the knowledge can be power for not only your own health, but your family's health too.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and if people want to find out more information, how can they do that?
Well, first off, the test is done by appointment in our clinic, or you can do it by no appointment on our WOW van. You just give us a call at the Health Department, or you can visit southern7.org. We do have a genetics cancer page on there, and it'll give you all the information that you need.
All right, lots to be thankful for, including new technology and research that's available. So, Shawnna, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thank you to you too as well.
Thank you, and we'll take a break. We'll be right back.